Hello again. So far, I have talked about this problem set. This is the product team, application development team problem set, and they're focused on how to deliver artifacts from uh, design, coding, tests, integration, and finally producing the component that they are responsible of, right? They are responsible for each of the team here working on a different application stack. And then the second problem set, this belongs to the release team or IT team, and who's responsible for taking all of the artifacts from many different teams, understanding the dependency, understanding the requirements, what kind of hardware that each of the artifacts must go on, and then produce a repeatable and reliable process so that it can be deployed on user acceptance tests, and then pre-production and production. So that's just a quick recap of what we have talked about. Now, I would like to talk about when it doesn't make sense to push flow. Okay, these are interesting situations that I want to describe. And this is actually do exist, and I want you to be aware of it, because when you notice this type, maybe it's not a good idea to actually push flow because it will confuse them. All right, so let me start with a couple of situations here. Going back to the same example here, you may have one team, two American team, two European team, and one Asian team, and they do have similar situation here: J2EE, mainframe, PHP on Tomcat, and then microservices, and then UIT tests. Same situation, right? However, and then they do have dependency among all of this team. So this is a situation when it's still valid to talk about flow, because to these people, because these people will have those challenges, right, that we talk about. Now, let's create another situation here. The same company that have this situation decided to create another team over here. So let's create another team. So this team operate, and this makes sense to use flow, but let's say that he create another brand new team over here. And this team is working on Greenfield because they want to future-proof themselves, and they want to focus on homogeneous stack, right? It could actually be fully Microsoft technology. So they are going to use TFS, they are going to use Azure DevOps. And this team, because it's a brand new team, doesn't have a dependency on all of the other teams that they have in the organization. So they have a pre-pass. They actually can create their own processes. And they can go from here all the way to the data center, right? It may actually bypassing all of the process that is already mandated over here, just because they are a brand new team, very homogeneous stack, and they are working on Greenfield, right? And if this is the situation, they will not have issues with coordinating with the rest of the team, all right? So this situation can happen. If this is the case, it doesn't make sense to use flow because they don't have issue for CI, right? And then they don't have issue for the integration and then dependency. And because of the technology is actually homogeneous, they can actually take it all the way to the data center using the specific tool, right? In the case of Microsoft Shop, that would be TFS and Azure DevOps. All right, so that is one example. It doesn't make sense to use push flow. Although we have a real situation, one of our customers that we are talking right now, financial services, they do have Azure DevOps and TFS, but this team, in this case, have to participate with the rest. So there is dependency with the J2EE, with the mainframe. And with that kind of situation, flow makes sense. But if they don't have any dependency with the other team, it doesn't make sense to push flow into that organization. Another example that is analogous to this situation is when you have a very happy Jenkins customer, And again, they don't have dependency. This could actually be a team that is just started 2-3 years ago, or just relatively recent. So they don't have all the legacy application stack. They don't have a very complex, because they started later, so they benefit from all of the new technology, the new technology and paradigm, and in terms of how to design and how to create, how to architect software. So they may actually be able to create a very light process. They are able to design their software with a very well understood dependency, and then the application stack is very homogeneous. Then if that's the situation, they may actually be able to actually create a process from CI, CD, and deployment to the data center 100% using Jenkins. Again, in this situation, it doesn't make sense to push flow, because then there is no pain. They already have the pain already solved, right? And then you will, if you are in this situation, it's better to focus on how to expand core in this particular account. Okay, so that is the second example. And then the third example, when it doesn't make sense to push flow, is when, again, whether it's a new company or a long time in existing company that have decided to create a brand new team to future-proof themselves, to work on brand new technology. So it's a greenfield initiative, right? And they decided that they are going to build everything using cloud-native tools, right? For AWS, they are going to use Lambda. They are going to use maybe serverless architectures, right? That is actually supported by AWS or Azure Cloud or Google Cloud, right? If this is the situation, they will not. Their pains is already addressed by a collection of tools that is provided in the cloud, right? So in this situation, you may want to contact our SA to talk about whether it makes sense to have a discussion with them about Jenkins, right? But this is clearly not a good opportunity for flow when they already start their work, and it's a special team. There is no dependency with the other team, and then they just focus on creating a brand new service offering that is pretty much built 100% in the cloud. Okay, so I just described to you the three situations that doesn't make sense to push flow. But if you review again these three situations, there is several common characteristics, right? This particular team working on a very homogeneous stack. So that is one characteristic. The second characteristic is this particular team, they do not have any dependency with all of the other complex or heterogeneous stack, right? So they don't have dependency with the other team members, right? Because it's a homogeneous stack, then the requirement for the deployment is well understood from the beginning, and there are tools that they are using that actually be sufficient, whether it's Jenkins or if they are doing development on-premise, or they use Lambda or other marketplace cloud tools if they are doing the development in the cloud from the beginning, right? So those are the three characteristics. Be aware of it, because that's when it doesn't make sense to push for flow. All right, again, as usual, if you have any questions, send me email or Slack messages. Thank you. Bye.